Nothing can prepare you for that feeling of just suddenly being seen, being talked about, becoming a kind of obsession in the public, in the papers, and on the internet. I think that we were especially underprepared because of the subject matter of the show, because nothing about it screamed a mainstream hit. It feels nice to get the recognition of peers, people I respect. It's been a very surreal year of people reaching out that I never thought would reach out, people I've respected and admired who've seen the show. It really surprises me. I think I've always felt like kind of a bit of an outsider, came in through comedy through the alternative route. I was always doing comedy that you would never really get in your clubs. I mean, I tried, it just wouldn't go well. And so I always felt like I sat outside of the industry in a lot of ways, and I always felt like I came up in a weird way. And so I've always never really known, I've never really felt a part of it until now. So it feels really nice to get that recognition. It's been a kind of crazy but amazing year, and that's been a really nice part of it. I love Jess. We've been on a hell of a journey together. I've made it no secret how much I wanted to cast her in the show. I knew the second she walked through the door and gave her first audition that she was Martha. It took a lot of convincing. I've spoken about this, it was a Netflix show, so there was the question of bringing someone in who brings a huge amount of viewership with them, but I just couldn't escape the fact that she was just brought something just so sort of transcendental to the role. I really think like once in a lifetime a performance comes along that really elevates the show. And I know I'm biased, but I really think it's one of the best TV performances of all time. And I think I believe in her so much. I think it's still a fraction of what she can do. So I think the sky is the limit for Jess. So I'm delighted that she's number 2. It was literally like overnight fame. I remember the show came out on a Thursday, and I remember that day put my TV on, and I think by about 2 p.m. that day, I realized, just felt suddenly that everyone was talking about it, and it felt suddenly that everything was kind of going a bit crazy. And that was by almost the same day. All of a sudden my phone starts popping off I had about, I'm not big on social media. I have Instagram, that's it. But I remember all of a sudden, my phone's just exploding. I'm always refreshing it. It's gone on 4,000 people each time. Nothing can prepare you for that feeling of just suddenly being seen, being talked about, becoming a kind of obsession in the public, in the papers, on the internet. I think that we were especially underprepared because of the subject matter of the show, because nothing about it screamed a mainstream hit. And I think we were doubly surprised insofar as it had none of the trappings of a commercial success. And so it was like being hit twice. So yeah, I didn't do any preparatory work at all. Yeah, I think television is a hugely powerful medium, the most watched sort of art form around, and the reach that like Netflix has now to change lives all around the world. I mean, I remember Baby Reindeer, for example, was number 1 in Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, places where it sort of broke cultural boundaries, where discussions like around Baby Reindeer would never have taken place in these countries before. And that is the power of Netflix, and that's the power of sort of television in general. And I think people are kind of interested in a sort of period of huge turbulence that we're in, sort of geopolitically around the world, in shows with a bit of a social conscience or a bit of sort of with something to say. I think it's the right time for that kind of work. And I think that television still has an ability to impact people massively. I mean, look at what the Mr. Base vs. the Post Office, that show did for bringing people justice and bringing a sense of injustice to the people who've been through that. So I still think television is a hugely powerful realm. I really believe in its abilities to change lives. I never sat down, like Baby Reindeer, I know there's a lot of themes like isolation and loneliness and sort of shared trauma and generational trauma and all this stuff in it, but I never really sat down and be like, I want to write a show about those themes. And it's similar to this, like I'm sure there's themes that will come out of it or a message of some kind, but I always try and lead with a story. I sort of came up with a story first about 2 sort of dysfunctional brothers, and I sort of led out from there. But yeah, I think it's different to Baby Reindeer, but I think it still borrows from a world of sort of broken people. It's funny because the show came out sort of as, if I remember, me and Jess went and presented an award at the last BAFTA just after Baby Reindeer went out. So So Baby Reindeer aired, so it couldn't have been further away from like the decision-making process. So I think with that in mind, with the distance there had been between Baby Reindeer coming out and the actual decisions to nominate the show, I'm not sure I was holding out too much hope, if I'm honest. It was an absolute thrill to me. I've always admired BAFTA, and it was a real joy. And 8 was a big surprise. It felt quite a lot. Jess, I will always believe Jess is a shoo-in, and I thought we might pick up a few other ones, but 8 was a real nice thing to do, and great that, you know, Nava was nominated, and we had the sound people nominated. We had director Veronica nominated. It felt like a nice sort of final hurrah almost. You know, I was really pleased actually. Yeah, there was no knowing, like, no sort of premonition, no sort of like crystal ball, but I knew that I had a sort of never say die attitude almost in a way, and a sort of like insatiable sort of work ethic. I think people have always commented on how hard I work, and I think I just always had the belief that if I just push, grind, hustle, work, there's something good will eventually come of it. I think my goal really, like from watching the UK Office growing up, was I remember watching it, completely obsessed with it as a kid. Me and my friends were, and then I would research into the show, and these guys who were in it were also directing and producing and writing it. Such a Ricky Gervais fanboy when I was growing up, and I set to myself when I was a kid that this is what I want to do. I want to one day write and be in a show that I've written, and that was my distant sort of goal, but I knew that before that there was other things. I want to go to Edinburgh and I want to do a show, and then I want to come back and do a show that goes well, and I want to come back and hopefully do a show that's where reviewers come to, and I think like you can have all the dreams, but I think you also have to be kind of pragmatic in what comes next. Yeah, I'll always be grateful to Anne Mense and Lindsay Soul for taking the chance on Baby Reindeer, because it was a play, it was a one-man monologue. It wasn't readily translatable in a lot of ways, and I took a chance on a play and an unknown writer, and they took this big risk. And also while we were writing it, Netflix went through a big sort of sea change. Like I remember they were commissioning more broader and all this kind of stuff, and so their sort of almost subscriber base had become a little more mainstream. And so, if I'm honest, I think dropping Baby Reindeer onto a platform was a big risk for people who got used to some of the programming that they would put out. It could have almost alienated a lot of their subscriber base, but it didn't, and they stuck by it and they took that risk. And I think that is brave commissioning.